So, please, Lena, I'm happy to welcome you here finally with seeing you and hearing you and everyone else too. And
Hi.
please tell us about yourself and anything you want. I'm passing you the mic.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your patience. My name is Lena. I'm Ukrainian daughter. I live in Ukraine since 2020. Before that, I lived in Crimea, where I was born. Unfortunately, I spent 4 years of my life in Russia. I studied there in university because after the invasion of Crimea, I didn't have Ukrainian documents and had no choice where to study except for Ukrainian. I'm not proud of it, but it happened to me, and I'm not trying to keep it a secret. So now I'm living in Kyiv. I'm trying to share information about Crimean Tatar political prisoners, about Crimean Tatar culture, Crimean Tatar language, which I'm still learning because unfortunately it wasn't cool in Crimea to be a Crimean Tatar. So my mom decided to raise me in my Ukrainian identity because my father is Ukrainian. And now I'm rediscovering my identity. I'm deciding to build it as Crimean Tatar. So yeah, that's it. I am active on Twitter. My Twitter is English speaking mostly, so if anyone is active there, please follow me. And also, I'm trying to make videos on YouTube. Unfortunately, there's also two of them because I have a full-time job and don't have enough time to make videos often. But I'll try my best because I'm really motivated to spread information about Crimea to the world.
What is
That's it.
your full-time job about? I'm curious.
My full-time job is also connected to Crimea. It is a literary project which is called Crimean Fig, or in Crimean Tatar language, it will be Kırım İncele. This is a literary competition which aims to how to say to create Ukrainian Crimean Tatar dialogue through culture and literature. So it's a competition for novelists, poets, and translators. And every year we publish a book of the best works applied to today's competition.
Okay, thank you. Okay, trying to calm down from all the stress. Really, really try to. So you lived in occupation for 4 years, right? In
uh,
Crimea.
in Crimea, I lived like uh, from 2014 to 2016. Then I lived 4 years in dormitory in Moscow. But I visited relatives very often as I could. So yeah, I saw the occupation a lot because I spent every holiday or every long weekends in Crimea, and I still have friends and relatives there. So I'm pretty aware of the situation.
This is very good. Then you can confirm that a lot of people from Crimea really they are waiting for Ukraine to come back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like there are people, and there are a lot of them. Unfortunately, they cannot speak out and they cannot express their opinion and their position, which is like anti-Russian and pro-Ukrainian, because every person speaking pro-Ukrainian position will be at least punished or imprisoned or kidnapped or tortured or killed. So these people have to be quiet. Uh, Unfortunately, I cannot imagine how can it be for 10 years to be silenced, to hide your views, to be afraid, for example, to talk on the streets, because like in Soviet Union times, people could just write to FSB
Mm-hmm.
saying that, hey, he has a pro-Ukrainian position, and the next day, Russian military will come to your house and imprison you. And of course, they will say that you are a terrorist. You're not just having a pro-Ukrainian position. You're a terrorist who planned to put a bomb on FSB building, at least.
Yeah, it's typical Russian behavior. By the way, do you know anything about me?
I know that the Ukrainian had dreams from political rallies since 2020, because when I came to Kyiv in 2020, I saw you on political rallies, and since
No,
then,
I wasn't there in 2020, 4 years ago.
maybe 2021, because I can remember you on rallies before full-scale invasion.
Wow, I actually was mm, one of those people who's not interested in politics. Can you imagine? I was not there, so you probably mixing me with
Politics,
someone.
you know, some actions near the courthouse dedicated to um, cases of Antonenko, Kuzmenko, Dugar.
Mhm. Mm, sorry, you.
No,
No, it wasn't me. I was not there. Before the full-scale invasion, everything I was interested in, there were video games.
well,
So
sorry, then I must have confused you with someone, because that person was also streaming in English.
yeah,
Over, you know,
it wasn't me,
also.
but yeah, then I will tell you my story. I am from Makivka, Donetsk Oblast, and this war, yeah, actually know this from 2014, just like you. But actually, well, this was much, um, this was, yeah, much less blood there in Crimea than in Donetsk and Makivka, and much less shelling, much less, yeah, not much less. There was no shelling at all in Crimea, if I'm not mistaken. So
Uh,
it was.
I wouldn't say, because yeah, Russian militaries came to Ukrainian military units, like military objects, and captured them. And there were, how to say, people who died because of the Russian actions. So
Mhm.
yeah, there was blood. People died, but of course they didn't destroy uh, the whole cities and districts
Mhm.
as religion.
Well, back then in 2014, they were not destroying the whole cities. They were, but there was some shelling back then, and people were dying on the streets because of that. And anyway, what am I talking about? I'm talking about me living in occupation there in Makivka from 2014 until 2019, and I got out of there only in 2019 here to Kyiv, and now I live here for 5 years, and I'm so happy that I did this like 3 months before COVID in 2019, because then I would have to go through Russia, and I was still able to go through the now it's a
Ukrainian
front line. Before that, it was like a well, it was a front line, but it was a frozen conflict, so you could pass it through some checkpoints, through the roadblocks, through of course some ugly so-called
Russian militaries.
yeah Russian military and so-called DPR military that were interrogating you and actually searching your pockets sometimes. Even yeah, once I had to take my socks off for them to check something there. Yeah, they were getting through your phone, and you should not have anything Ukrainian there because your life and health would be at risk then. So anytime we went through those blog posts, we had to delete all the conversations with our Ukrainian friends and all of that. Well, um, as we know now, they could still get the deleted information out of your phone and restore it. So so I think.
Last time I went to Crimea to see my parents, it was in 2021, and when I was moving from Ukraine to this border, uh, I was crying and literally shaking because I was afraid I may not come home.
When was it?
Before Hmm?
When was it?
2021 summer,
Hmm.
before leaving Kiev, I wrote a farewell letter for my boyfriend and asked my friend to give him his letter in case I will not return.
Hmm.
So
So.
can you imagine? I was like 22 and I was coming to my homeland, to my home to see my parents and my grandparents. And I was afraid that I will be either imprisoned or killed. And it's awful. And actually, when I was in like this border, Russian border service had this attitude. Like, I think even like homeless animals get better attitude than people on this border control um, building because they really interrogated everyone, asking some questions, searching bags. And one woman, she had some, I don't know, honey, I think,
Hmm.
to bring to her relatives. I don't know, maybe as a souvenir. And Russian military asked her like, "Don't we here in Russia have honey? Like, why would you carry it from
Hmm.
Ukraine?" He was so angry. Of course, he took this honey and some of her personal things just because he could. Like, it had no sense, but he can and he does. And that's what Russia does right now. No one punishes them for killing Ukrainians, killing civilians, children, bombing hospitals, schools. So they just continue doing that.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem of this world right now, that Russia is allowed to do, and it's getting away with it. Of course, we have sanctions, but that's such a bullshit. Now people are complaining of the low sound. I actually adjusted it. It was like plus 5 decibels gain. Now it's plus 9. Guys, tell me if it's better now, if you can hear me better, because uh, chat is saying that Lena is a very good level of voice and Rick is low now. Oh, technical difficulties continue, but let me check one more thing here. So the microphone, no, this is the MacBook microphone, and there is no microphone. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's actually it was lower. Like, what about this, guys? It should be super loud now. Is it louder? Equal now? Everything is great, Rick. Awesome. So right now it might be even louder, maybe too loud. So let me know. Okay, Lena, it's um,
Yeah, and can I like have a word for a
of
second?
course, of course.
I just wanted to highlight to the viewers of the stream that Russia mm, had a continued genocide of Crimean Tatar people for centuries, literally for centuries, as well as the Ukrainians. But I think if Russia kills Ukrainians with the weapon and all these inhumane actions we can see right now, Russia continue killing Crimean Tatars, but very silently, so the world do not know about this. And I think Russia's goal is to kill or eliminate every Crimean Tatar from Crimea, and it's insane because like we are Crimean Tatars who live in Crimea, it's our homeland, we are indigenous people. And right now, every Crimean Tatar person living in Crimea is like a sign that Crimea is not Russian. Like Crimea belongs to other people, like indigenous people. So do not think that if we are pro-Ukrainian, we will be like like only if we are having pro-Ukrainian position and saying about that, we will be in prison. Every Crimean Tatar person living in Crimea is already endangered. I would say we are like hostages in the
Mm-hmm.
hands of terrorist country. And of course, Crimean Tatar people cannot leave Crimea because if we leave, there will be no Russians, and Russia will say that this peninsula is Russian because no one else except Russians live there. So we have to remain on our own land, but as well we are being slowly destroyed because Crimean Tatar nation is very small, unfortunately, right now. There were much bigger amount of us like centuries ago before Russia came. And right now it's only about 13-15% of all Crimeans population.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is a sad situation. So I would really appreciate if everyone could speak out for us. I don't know, ask your government to recognize the deportation of Crimean Tatar people as genocide because it was. Um, ask your government to make some sanctions against Russia for discriminating or persecuting Crimean Tatar people. Because I'm afraid, like Crimean Tatar language is severely endangered, and there are less and less speakers of it, and less people choose to live with this Crimean Tatar identity because Russia is persecuting people who are making this choice. So please support us in the way you can. I'm not asking you to come to Ukraine and take the weapon in your hands and fight for us, but we have also an informational war. It it's not less important than the real one, which is going on battlefield. So please speak out for us, for Crimean Tatar people and for Ukrainians.
Yeah, guys, that's what you need to do. And it's very tragic what Russians have been doing with your people for centuries. They've been deporting you since 19th century, was, if I'm not mistaken, 1845 or
18th century, 1783.
1783, since then. And they've been actually sending you to Uzbekistan, right? Uh, it was the deportation that happened in 19th century
1940,
or
no,
8
no,
or 20th century. Mhm.
19, yeah,
1945, right?
44.
44. Sorry, because when I speak, I your mic is getting muted. So we spoke at the same time, so I could not hear what you were saying. Sorry, I heard 19 and then silence. um,
If anyone is interested, I can give you a brief history of
yeah,
Russians' presence in Crimea. Yeah.
that's a very good idea. Thank you. I would love to hear it.
Okay. Um,
And everyone else too, actually, because we had Crimean Tatars here before on the stream, but no one told us this story. Like, no,
okay.
the history, I mean.
Be brief.
Thank you.
Um, in Crimea, there were a lot of nations until Crimean Tatar people appeared as one individual nation. Crimean Tatar people appeared as a nation, I'd say, on 13th century. And since 1441, Crimean Tatar people had their own state, the Crimean Khanate. Uh, it was like an independent state protected by Ottoman Empire. They were partners. And Crimean Tatar people held like independent individual life, having a lot of diplomatic relationship with other European countries, and it was a center of Islamic civilization in the Europe. For example, in the palace of Crimean Tatar Khan, like the main person in Khanate, they had Moliere's, um, how to say, theaters translated to Crimean Tatar language and made as a theater performance. So it was a well-educated, really innovative state.
Then Russia appeared as a political player in the map of Europe and as a vassal of Golden Horde. Russia had to pay tribute to Crimean Tatar Khan. So until 1700, Russia paid tribute to Crimean Tatars. Once Ivan the Fourth, I think, or the third, the one who was called Grozny, he refused to pay the tribute. So Crimean Tatar Khan, which was called Devlet Gerai, he came to Moscow and he burned the Moscow down. Can you imagine?
A
uh,
dream for us now.
yes, yes. So, and Ivan the Fourth started paying again. So this was the kind of relationship Russia and Crimean Khanate had before 1700. Then Russian Empire occupied more and more country on the Far East, and they got richer and stronger as political player. And since the middle of 18th century, Russia started it's like implementing the plans of occupying more and more territories, including Crimea. So through some schemes, political corruption and dishonesty, they ruined Crimean Tatar Khanate. And from 1783, it was the first occupation of Crimean Peninsula. So Crimean Tatar Khanate stopped existing, and Russia occupied this land. From the first day of occupation, from annexation, Russia started persecuting Crimean Tatar people. To the point of 1783, there were 95% of Crimean Tatars in Crimea. So you can understand that this is like very monolithic picture. It's mono-ethnic region.
Region,
Yeah.
yeah.
Since then, Russia persecuted Crimean Tatar people. For example, Russian military just stole Crimean Tatar people's land. They took people's rights. They prohibited implementing their liberties, their culture. They banned Crimean Tatar language. They took away people's rights. They also threatened people to deport to their far regions of Russia and Central Asia. So people were forced to flee Crimea. They migrated to Ottoman Empire, and right now, for example, there are a few million people, I think, in Turkey who are like the grandchildren of those people who came to Turkey from Crimea in 18th and 19th and 20th century. But Crimean Tatar people try to exist and to be there because it's their homeland. Crimea is kind of difficult region to grow groceries, for example, wheat, because we have a few water resources. But they managed to do that because they are owners of this land. I would say they are children of this land. And when Russians came, they could not manage all this stuff as good as Crimean Tatar people. In the beginning of 20th century, there was a race of Crimean Tatar intellectual elite. There were some strong figures like Ismail Gasparinsky, who was like the founder of modern Turkic intellectual thought, I'd say. He was really innovative and progressive guy who created a new teaching system, for example, in schools. And he motivated a lot of people to enter universities and to provide politically active lifestyle. So in 1917, in Crimea, we had the first Islamic Republic, which was called Crimean Democratic Republic. It was very innovative, not only to the Muslim world, but also to the whole Europe, because they gave women a right to be chose and to choose. For example,
Mm-hmm.
Turkey gave women right to vote only in 1930. Crimean Tatar people did it in 1917. Unfortunately, this republic didn't exist for a long time because Russians came again.
Yeah.
Uh, they destroyed this republic. They killed the head of the republic, and not just killed. He threw his body in the Black Sea, so no one could find him and bury his body. Or to pray, for example, because Crimean Tatar people are Muslims and they respect their traditions.
Mm-hmm.
So Russians came, Russians destroyed, then they killed all the intellectual elite. Like there is concept of executed Renaissance in Ukrainian culture. Like all the people who were killed in 60s, we had the same. Russian
Mm.
killed all the writers, composers, politically active people, the directors of museums, all the cool people. They killed them like in 2 days, and in 6 years later, in 1944, Russians deported all the Crimean Tatar nation from their homes. My grandmother, she was 4 that time, and she um, they took her family and all the Crimean Tatar people in the 5 in the morning and put there in wagons and sent in a trip for 3 weeks to Central Asia and some distant regions of Russia. And this ride took around 3 weeks. People had no food, no water, and these wagons. It wasn't like a trip we have now. People died from starvation, from lack of water, dehydration. It was also very unhygiene.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people died in the first years of deportation. And of course, no one was welcoming there. In Uzbekistan, for example, where my grandmother was deported, uh, the children had to work from the early years to survive.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, for example, she lost almost all her family because people just die of starvation, and the climate there is very harsh.
Mm-hmm.
And Crimean Tatar people were banned from returning to their homeland, and they were like their rights were taken absolutely. They could not enter universities. They could not have good positions on the job. Uh, of course, Russia tried to make them not Crimean Tatars, like to force them to become someone else, uh, ideally Russians. So yeah, people were banned from returning home for 50 years. All the time they had like protests, some rallies. They came to Moscow. They gathered signs from famous people, dissidents, and Ukrainian poets and like big figures. And only when Soviet Union was fallen in 1989 or the 1990s, they started returning to their home. Like the history of deportation is much, much wider. I just don't want to bore you because I'm already talking for a long time. So from 1990s, people were able to come back to Crimea, which was the part of independent Ukraine. But unfortunately, they could not return to their homes because there are already people living in their homes because almost the next
Mm-hmm.
day Russia deported all the Crimean Tatar people from Crimea, which was on the 1944 already 25%. So you can see in 1.5 centuries, Crimean Tatar people population decreased from 95% to 25. So the next day after deporting all the Crimean Tatar people, Russians just uh, asked people from distant Russian regions to come to this cool, warm peninsula near the sea to live in some free houses. You don't have to build nothing. You just come here, maybe change the locks. and please, you have a spot to live. So when, for example, my grandmother's family, uh, they came to see the house they used to live in, the people like said to them, go away. They threw bricks in them. A lot of people had dogs, so they like scared them with dogs. And
Mm-hmm.
people had to find some new places to live, to build everything from the beginning. But Russia's presence in Crimea, even though it was independent Ukraine, was still very strong. So people were not allowed to build because some police could came with some technic machines and to destroy these houses. There
Mm-hmm.
were even some story that Crimean Tatar man, his name was, I would say, Musa Mahmud, if I'm not mistaken. He burned himself because of these, I'd say, sufferings, because he could not just easily live on his own land. Because when he built the house, they, how to say, stopped the water supplies to his house, and then they did not give him registration on his home. And it was a typical situation. You cannot get a registration in your house because you have no job, but they do not allow you to have a job if you have no registration.
Yeah,
Insane.
close
So
circle.
yeah, since 1990s, Crimean Tatar people started living in Crimea. They built theirs in universities. The day they could come back to Crimea, they sold everything, maybe very cheap, and they came back to Crimea, and they could not have a good job. And many of people had to, for example, grow some groceries and to sell them on the markets just to feed their families and to have any money and to build a new house. This was the situation of my family also. I can perfectly remember how I was a child and I was spending with my mom hours and hours in the lines to some, I don't know, director of our local, how to say, government representative to give his allowance to us to build in some uh, area outside of Simferopol, because you could not have a good location. You can only build in somewhere outside of city or in not cool districts like in steppe, for example, where there is no water supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, and since then, Russia's presence was very strong. Like a lot of people say, "Hey, Crimean Tatar people had their own autonomic republic in Ukraine." Well, it was serving Russians, not Crimean Tatar people. Crimean Tatar people had no privileges. They, I'd say, suffered because of this autonomy. And Russia put a lot of money and efforts into making Crimea like very pro-Russian region. I can
Mm-hmm.
perfectly remember all that cases, and we see what it happened in 2014. Russia put the militaries in Crimea and captured administrative buildings, government buildings, military um, units, I'd say, like military zones.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, Crimean Tatar people and pro-Ukrainian people were kidnapped or killed, or we still don't know where they are or are they alive, because Russia is trying to eliminate everyone who is not happy with Russia being in the territory of another state. Whew, I finished.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was, well, people in the chat enjoyed this. And Terence Salve, for example, says, wow, I'm happy that I'm not missing it. So uh, this is all very important. Thank you for telling us the history, teaching us the history, I would say. And I think, guys, you need to ask more questions. Lena is here. shorter, I think, will be shorter than I expected because of those technical difficulties. I usually try to keep the stream 3 hours long. It's been, what, 2.5? No, 2 and 10 minutes. So, well, no, I think we still have time. By the way, Andreas Lach added your channel's logo emoji to the chat. We have a we have a Crimean Tatar flag and even your own emoji, your face there.
At my face.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Um,
so kind of you guys.
he always works on those emojis pretty well, and they look pretty
Wow.
cool though too. Um, okay, Lena, I had so many questions to you, but all of these technical difficulties, they made it all. Well, I won't say disappear, but definitely, uh, being buried there under the stress. So I'm.
I'm planning to highlight all these like story later on my YouTube or Twitter because I'm trying to write some threads in Twitter to educate people about some small events because I cannot cover all the history of Ukraine in one thread. So if anyone is interested in story, maybe please ask your questions or topics you're interested in chat, and I'll have a look later because I'm always trying to find out what people are interested in. So I'm trying to be not only useful but also interesting to people who are interested in our culture.
Mhm. Nice. Guys, I want to remind you that you can find, first of all, YouTube channel of Lena in the name of the stream. You see the blue ad, Lena from Crimea. You can press on it and subscribe to her channel. She's posting some videos there not too often, but she told us that she's planning to do it more often. But she's busy with her full-time job, also connected to Crimea and Crimean culture, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so there's going to be more content there. Anyway, those videos are. By the way, what about those videos are, Lena?
The first video is debunking three, I'd say, myths about Crimea, which are very pro-Russian and serving Russian interests. I will be honest, I enjoyed while creating these videos because I feel like I'm doing some useful job and I'm telling people alternative stories because Russia's got so much influence and so much propaganda and is like recognized by many people as providing cool culture. So we know their interest and their point of story. The thing is, they're lying and they're creating myths and
Mm-hmm.
they are saying bullshit. So in my videos, in the first video, I debunked uh, three most popular um, myths and gave some history and examples. And on the second videos, I gave more about history of the region, the one I told you about, because the video explained how Russia created the image of Russian Crimea, how the peninsula, which was 100%, almost 100% Crimean Tatar 300 years ago, changed to being almost Russian territory with Russian people, with Russian culture, with Russian language, and no representation of Crimean Tatar people and Crimean Tatar interests and Crimean Tatar history. Because even in the times of independent Ukraine presence in Crimea, we, for example, had only two Ukrainian schools
Mm-hmm.
in the whole Crimea. Like the one was in Simferopol, and I can remember it was like very cool and very elite, and many people wanted their children to study there, but all the other schools had education in Russian language.
Mm-hmm.
So you were born in Russian speaking region, and you speak Russian with your friends and
Oh, I know
family,
that
and
feeling,
then
Lena. I know
yeah, and then
that.
you visit school where it's everything in Russian, and then you enter university with everything in Russian, and you are consuming Russian media and Russian books, because everyone is saying that Russian literature is the great and Ukrainian is very primitive and not cool. And so that's it. I was trying to explain how it happened, what Russia did, which steps
Mm-hmm.
to make Crimea Russian. I believe the next video will be more about who are Crimean Tatar people, because I just started creating the videos explaining the situation, like the current situation. And then I realized, like, wow, I have to introduce us first. So maybe the next video will be about who are Crimean Tatar people, how they were formed. Did they come to Crimea with Mongolians? Spoiler, they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Did they kill all the Greek population in Crimea? No, they didn't, because the Greek population in Crimea didn't exist at the time. Crimean Tatar people founded their own state. So I'll try to answer that question.
Awesome. And I see questions in the chat are appearing bit by bit. So let's
Cool.
begin with one from who that was. Silver Earth was first, I think, to ask the question. Did you take cultural classes? You have extensive knowledge of your history.
No, it's self-educating and speaking to my family and to my neighbors in Crimea, because God bless me, I was born in Ukrainian Crimean Tatar family. My mom is Crimean Tatar. So, and we are living in mostly Crimean Tatar district in Simferopol. So I can have access to the people who survived deportation, for example, who remember the tales of their ancestors. And I'm speaking to Crimean Tatar community here in Ukraine. And I'm trying to do as much as I can to gather new knowledge and to educate not only myself, but also my friends or anyone who is interested in.
Okay, thank you. Next one is from a ref from USA, and I actually know the answer to that question, but we need to hear it from you too. Rick, can you ask Lena if the Tatars will come back to Crimea once Ukraine is in control again?
Mhm. The first thing I would like to ask you to call us Crimean Tatars,
Not
because
just Tatars,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, just Tatars, they are a different nation and they live in Russia in the region called Tatarstan. They have a different language and different traditions, so please do not confuse us.
Yeah,
Crimean Tatar are just like the expression you should not divide.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, of course, Crimean Tatar people will return to Crimea, and this is 100%. Everyone I know is missing their homeland, and personally, me, I'm so interested in coming home, and I hope my grandparents will still be alive, because right now I didn't see them or my mother, for example, in 3 years. And even though I have life here, I will do the same my ancestors did 30 years ago when they left everything in Uzbekistan and returned to Crimea, because that's our homeland, because it needs us and we need it. Like there are a lot of sayings in Crimean Tatar language uh, saying that the person has only one mother and the nation has only one homeland. So our homeland is Crimea and we are extremely connected to it. And actually, I visited Turkey a few months ago because I went on Erasmus Plus youth exchange, and I met some people who have Crimean Tatar roots, and they say that after the occupation of Crimea, they will be happy to come and to see the land of their ancestors. I'm not sure they will relocate to Ukraine, it would be like very hard to do, I think. But people are deeply interested in discovering their roots, and they are
Hmm.
waiting for the occupation because they cannot come to Crimea right now.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. I actually have. I also have Tatar blood in me, but not Crimean
That's right.
Tatar
Oh,
blood.
Ukrainian. Oh, okay.
Yeah, not unfortunately. I'm from. My ancestors are from Ulyanovsk, I think, which is next to Tatarstan. So yeah, I have actually a Tatar blood, not Crimean Tatar blood in me.
That's
I
interesting.
actually look like one too. Sometimes I don't realize that, but sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I look like Tatar, definitely. Okay, more questions? What do you think? Or you still have something to add to that one?
To that one, no, but I think I had a look in the chat and I thought one comment about my
Yes.
fest.
Oh, yeah. About your hat. Does it have a name? I think it definitely has a name.
Yeah, it's called fest, Fes. And
Fez.
this is a traditional part of Crimean Tatar woman costume. It appeared, I think, in 18th century, and it became like a classical part of our costume. And unfortunately, I mm, cannot share images with you, um, like from my screen, but I will point it to the camera. This is the picture of Crimean Tatar women
Mm-hmm.
wearing fez in 1920s. So you see, it's not like a dyed tradition. It's really a part of our costumes, and as well as far as I can see, girls in Ukraine or in Crimea who are Crimean Tatars, they are rediscovering this tradition and they're starting wearing fez in their daily life. And for
Mm-hmm.
example, this picture is also from 20th century, and the young girls who are like visiting school. Yeah, Crimean Tatar people had schools even for girls when it wasn't common for a long time. Uh, so these girls are also wearing fez. And the interesting story is these coins,
Mm-hmm.
like historically, they supposed to be there, and they were like an investment in the future of a woman. Because when, for example, a woman is married to a man and he, let's imagine, goes to the war, and she is just remains in home with children, when she needs money, she can just take one coin from her fez and to exchange it to food or some goods. So it's like a bank account, but in
Nice.
very old style. Yeah.
Old style bank accounts. When you wear coins on your face. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and there are like a lot of stories from ancestors that women who were deported to Uzbekistan or other regions of Central Asia and Russia in 1944, they survived only because they sold their accessories and coins from pets. And
Mm-hmm.
if you will ever be in Kiev, I will recommend you visiting an exhibition which is called Miras, which is translated from Crimean Tatar language as like spадщина українською.
Legacy.
Heritage, yeah, made a legacy. So
Legacy.
uh, this exhibition has a lot of Crimean Tatar elements. An exhibition, accessories, um, cups, traditional dress, a lot of pictures. So everyone who is interested in getting more information about Crimean Tatar people or Turkic nations, you are welcome because this exhibition is very good. And there you can see also facets, kushak, which is like a accessory you are wearing on your waist in the day of your wedding, and just wearing, if you're a young girl or a woman,
Mhm.
some earrings, some cool elements made by Crimean Tatar juvelers who are like trying to preserve and share Crimean Tatar culture, because we had a lot of masters working with jewelry or some other crafts.
About Fez, good question from Silver Earth. Is the color significant? Mhm.
Actually, I cannot answer to you 100% being sure, because I don't want to lie.
Mhm.
But I can give you a comment about costumes. Yes, costumes may have some meaning. Like young girls would wear some very light colors like pink or yellow. Girls who are being ready to get married were wearing darker colors like red, I would say. You can see often red dresses on weddings.
Mhm.
The older women would wear some violet colors or dark blue. As me, I chose dark blue for my fez because it matches the color of my favorite dress, and I wear them as a whole, costume. So maybe fastest color also matters. Maybe it doesn't. I can tell you, I don't want to lie.
Mhm. Okay. I also know that you're very active. Well, let's say politically, I'm not sure. The fact that you were on Let Ukraine Strike Back protest uh, then, and we're actually taking a stand there with a loudspeaker. Uh, Pretty cool. So I also, I actually want to ask you if it was um, like a family tradition to be active and actually take part in the social life of your country. Well, is it a social life? Mm, you know what I mean, probably, right? So, where does it come from for you?
Um, For me, in some part, it comes from the history of my nation, because Crimean Tatar people were never indifferent to the politics.
Mm-hmm.
Because even in independent Ukraine, uh, they were the main proponents of Ukraine in Crimea, and the main proponents of Europe. For example, Crimean Tatar people were like that people who were in Euromaidan in
Mm-hmm.
Crimea, and they attended Euromaidan in Kiev. They went to Kiev from Crimea in 2013, and they were politically active since 1990s. They perfectly remember who deported them, which country was it. It was Russia. So mostly Crimean Tatar people do not like Russia, and they hate Soviet Union,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why it's important for us to speak out about our political interests, and our political interest is strong, independent Ukraine. Because if there will be no Ukraine, there will be no Crimean Tatar people. Because um, if we stay with Russia, like occupied by Russia, we will just stop existing, because Russia has no interest in preserving Crimean Tatar language and culture and political nation.
Yeah.
So for me, it comes from the history of my nation, because even in the times of deportation, Crimean Tatar people still visit Trali and organized a lot of events and gathered money to send people to Moscow, for example, to speak to politicians and to explain to them that the situation is awful and insanely unfair. And for me right now, it's as much important as it was for them back in their years. I think that Crimea can peacefully exist only as a part of Ukraine. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need Ukraine to win this war, and we need Ukraine to protect us as a part of political nation. And as far as I know, Crimea is considering creating in Crimea the national autonomy. And this autonomy will not be like a country for Crimean Tatars when we will persecute everyone who is not Crimean Tatar. This autonomy will just would consider the needs and rights of Crimean Tatar people who, for example, will have some um, places in our regional government, so we could stand for our interests. So yeah, I visit in every political rally I can, and it's not about it's not only connected to the war and, for example, like this rally that Ukraine strike back. It's also important for me for Ukraine to be as democratic as it can. So before full-scale invasion, for example, I visited some rallies where when there were some unfair charges or cases against political activists,
Yeah.
uh,
Like
and
Sternenko.
yes, like Sternenko, or as I said,
Yes.
Kuzmenko,
Yeah.
Duher, Antonenko, because the power of Ukraine is its people, and
Yeah.
people have the power. So I will not let anyone to make us silent and to forbid us to speak our will and protect our interests. So yeah, that's it.
Just a second. I need to get under my table and take the charger for my laptop. Just wanted to explain why am I going down under the table. I need to charge it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's charging. Nice. So there was a question from AJ Lohinska. Are the Crimean Tatars in Ukrainian government managing to help and reassure Crimean Tatars who have been displaced by the full-scale invasion of Ukraine?
Very specific question.
Yeah.
uh,
I
I
yeah.
I
Do you know?
think there are some people because there were some people who stand for interests of internally displaced Crimean Tatar people uh, since 2014, and I'm sure they still doing their job working these people who were internally displaced after 2022. There are also some organizations like Crimsos, uh, Crimea SOS, which who are consulting people like about some problems with the laws, for example, or just providing some services, informing people about their rights or whether they can or cannot do some things. Back in 2014, this organization was founded by Crimean Tatar activists. There were three of them. Ali Mari, who is right now the deputy general of Ukrainian Institute. I would say he is a cultural, uh, how to say, he's standing for cultural interests of Ukraine and spreading the information of Ukraine on political and diplomatic level. It was also Kamila Tasheva, who is now the representative of Ukraine's president in Crimea, and Sevgil Musaeva, who is now the main editor of Ukrainian Truth newspaper. So back in 2014, they organized Crimsos, Crimea SOS, to inform people about ongoing situation in Crimea because, as we know, Crimea was serving Russian interests and there were almost no independent media. So from media, it raised to NGO, which provided some services and consulting to people who were persecuted, for example, by Russia or who wanted to be internally displaced and to come to unoccupied territories of Ukraine. And right now, Crimsos are doing very big job, and I know some people working there, and I'm extremely grateful to them. But about government, I would say there are some people, I do not know them personally, but they are, and they are trying to protect Crimean Tatar interests and to protect like these people to make their life easier in Ukraine. But unfortunately, I can't say a lot about it because I came to Kyiv in 2020 and I did everything by myself.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to actually take a quick pause and remind people that we're doing a raffle for this awesome Kraken badge, which is framed with the Ukrainian flag inside. And ticket, one ticket costs $10. You can buy unlimited number of tickets, guys. It's gonna be raffled. I mean, raffle is gonna be finalized during the Sunday stream, as always. And yeah, Lena, information for you. We are constantly raising funds for Ukrainian army here on
Oh,
these streams, and this community is crazy. In average, we're raising like $2,000 to $3,000 per week, and
oh,
yeah, and people amaze me. Like I was our community was growing, and I was beginning with a few $100s per week, and I then people started donating more and more, and I just at some point, I was thinking, okay, if I take one more fundraiser to the one I have, people will definitely, it's going to be too much. But no, the more I take, the more fundraisers I take into work, the more people are willing to support, and it is crazy, and it inspires me a lot. And I know that it inspires our guests. This is why I'm always mentioning. It is very pleasant. Mention this. It is very pleasant for rollers. That's the name of members of our community. Rick Roller, actually. So maybe you remember the old prank Rick Roll,
no.
where no, it's when you ask someone to send you some link to something. People, sorry, that person sends you the link. You go to the link, and it's not something that you ask. It's a song of Rick Ashley. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you
Okay.
down. It was 10 years ago. So every time someone buys a coffee, it plays this song here, but today we don't have that kind of notification because I'm doing it from the laptop, as you know. Unfortunately, or we all know that I'm doing this the new way. But anyway, just wanted to
Uh,
speak. Yeah.
I just want to thank everyone who is donating because uh, it means not only support of Ukrainian armed forces, but also for us Ukrainian creators and like everyone in Ukraine, because of course we share this news. And thank you everyone for supporting both Greek and Ukrainian armed forces. Because and I'm thanking you for doing that also because I want to live in free, independent Ukraine. And I know that if Ukraine wins this war, it will mean the deoccupation of my homeland. And every donation brings me closer to the dream of mine to hold the hand of my mom and to visit my grandparents. So please continue doing that.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, rollers, for keep supporting us. By the way, during the stream, I got $22 from Slobodan for the raffle and for whatever donation, as he said, you are doing. We're right now raising for the truck, well, pickup truck or just an SUV for the 22nd Brigade. On the last stream, we managed to raise 140,000 hryvnias. Yeah, crazy amount of money. And yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I was impressed myself. But what happened? Ah, it's this Kraken patch. They people wanted so much, so they were buying tickets more and more. And it is still going, guys. And I see you just bought more tickets because I see some donations coming. Of course, you gotta save something for Sunday too, but thank you for sending them now. A ref from USA, one ticket please, $10. Thank you. And Merdzi, $20 for Crack and Patch raffle tickets. Slava Ukraini, Heroям Slava. Thank you very much. Yeah, on Wednesdays I'm not actively raising funds. This is why I mentioned it only now, close to the end of the stream. But on Sunday stream, which can last to up to 8 hours sometimes, I yeah, I usually repeat this like every half an hour at least. I want you to have your dream come true. Silvers, are you speaking to maybe both of us to come back to our places, or at least to Lena? I wish you, Lena,
Now,
for your
not at least.
dream come true.
I think it was meant for both of us.
Ah,
Because my dream is also for all the Ukrainians who are internally displaced to come back to their homes,
yeah, it will
whose home
be
is.
it will be amazing, and it's a dream. I think that's the best thing that we Ukrainians, either we are from Makivka or Crimea, uh, we all dream to come back home. To free
Uh,
Ukraine, because we can come back home into occupation, of course. There's a difference. So come back home to free Ukraine.
yeah. Uh, Unfortunately, I already have to go because
Me too. I need to finish the stream, Lena. I was happy to have you here, and I'm sure rollers too. And it was an awesome. I actually didn't even need to work as an interviewer. You told us everything yourself. This is amazing. You're an amazing public speaker. You know what to tell us. So it was really nice to meet you. Well, we met then, but like meet you better and know you better and talk to you.
yeah, thank you for inviting me, and I'm thanking everyone who waited for me to join with both sound and video. And thank you for your community, and I hope I will be able to speak to you again on the stream. And I'm thanking everyone who wrote questions and kind words in the chat. I will take a look later. Um, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lena.
I was happy to be here.
By the way, real quick, are you going to Free Azov rallies too? Are you coming to them?
Not every rally, but I'm trying to.
I'm coming to every rally, so I hope to see you there, if you will come.
Yeah, hope to see you there too.
Thank you, Lena, and have a nice evening. It was
Thank you,
a
everyone.
great
Thank
time with
you.
you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.